Hey folks, welcome or welcome back if you're new. As you can see, I've got a little bit of a vibe going on here and a bit of a taster. I didn't do my August wrap up or my September wrap up, so I'm here to do a combined and condensed combination of them. And some of the, I guess, key facets really is spirit work and ancestral work in particular. I'm also going to talk about a couple of the standout and most used decks of that period, some books, some other knickknacks, and then be done with it. Before we dive in, August was my birthday month, and throughout August, September, and just into this part of early October, I got a slew of decks, which always happens at this time of year. It usually only happens once or twice a year, and that's when I get the bulk of my decks. That's just how it kind of lands. So because of that, I will do a kind of haul video. Again, very unlike me, but very fun. People love it, and if you hate it, then you don't have to watch it. So keep an eye out for that. We're not going to go into that here. This is going to be a slower, more personal catch-up around my tarot and witchcraft practice from those months, what I've been working with, returning to and reflecting on behind the scenes. And really quickly, before we dive into things, go check out my poll on my community posts here on YouTube. I am releasing an exclusive Patreon video and I am inviting you to vote for which one you want to see the most. There are 4 options. So with all of that stuff out of the way, let's get into things. So let's start with decks in practice, and these are the 4 standouts from that August to September period and the transition. As I say, we went on our holiday. I actually caught the most dreadful virus on the holiday, got 2 infections, and over a month later, I am still, which I will try and edit as much coughing as possible out, I am still very sick. So it wasn't quite the holiday that we had hoped for, but it was still beautiful nevertheless. We went off to Greece, and these 2 decks have both been to Greece with me before. This is the Pagan Cats Tarot. I freaking adore this deck so much. I have spoken about it many times over the years, reviewed it, all the things basically. They are familiar go-tos, very comforting and superbly readable. This as a tarot in particular, it's very Rider-Waite-Smith, but with its own fresh vibe for the most part. You know, it's not a clone. And it does feel like an old friend. And as Greece is the one place that I have visited the most time and time and time again, there's a familiarity with the country as well, or at least some of the islands. Also, the hotel that we go and stay at are very big on cats. They advertise the local Greek rescue, which do a lot of spaying and neutering, and they will try and get housing for the cats as well. A lot of the locals will feed them when the tourist season's low. When tourist season's high, the tourists feed them. The cats are pretty beloved where we visit actually, and there are always cats in residence at the hotel as well, because they will take in ones who unfortunately had kittens before they were able to be spayed. So I knew there was going to be cats there. I thought there might be some kittens, which there was. If I can find you any glorious kitten footage, I will add it in quickly. Cats and me and Greece, it's just a thing basically. So this came along, and then Coastals is a lovely addition. You can possibly tell that this is the mini because it's super travel friendly. I also have a backup of this Pagan cat, so it kind of means in terms of travelling, I don't mind travelling with this and the mini of this, because I have the larger edition, and now, spoiler, the new Naturalist edition, which you'll see in my haul video. The mini is my little travel buddy. I don't travel far usually. What I mean is when I go for my long walks or visit the duck pond, this version of it is very colourful. It's very nature-based and doesn't steer away from nature in a way that makes it too soft, but it does feel like quite a light deck energetically, all the same, light to neutral. So there are words and invitations that can be somewhat confronting, but it's not up there with the harshest of them, which is obviously what I appreciated. I also really have just the biggest love affair with the ocean, and the Greek ocean is divine, and there's something about this being the coast, even though obviously a very different one. They just felt like two really good complementing decks. I don't actually read for myself a lot when I'm away, so I only want a few pulls. I do think I pulled some cards for myself on the plane actually, which is a surprise because I hate flying. Hate it. It's a massive phobia of mine despite my doing it. But yeah, these were my two buddies and they really stood out. They gave me some really beautiful, meaningful and very in the moment reflective messages for where we were and yeah, just everything that was in and around us. And the other two decks, possibly surprising no one when I said I've been doing Ancestral work-ins and Spirit work-ins, are both by the lovely 𝗕𝗿𝗄𝗱 of Black and the Moon. But I always take an opportunity to show off at least one of my Crystal Haven bags because they're delicious. And the skull is the ultimate vibe for this. Actually, this bag has hosted several decks. It has swapped and changed depending on where I'm keeping them. So sometimes it has the 𝗕𝗿𝗄𝗱 tarot in it, and sometimes it has the 𝗕𝗿𝗃𝗃𝗃 tarot in it, because this is my mass market edition. So as I say, the 𝗕𝗃𝗃𝗃 tarot's here on the left, and then I have the Memento Mori oracle on the right. I wonder if people get sick of seeing the same decks again, but quite honestly, the reason that I'm really passionate about these type of videos in particular is because I really think it's a lovely taste of people's practice. I really enjoy watching them, so I enjoy recording and sharing them as well. And these two decks are a regular and frequent part of my practice, and some months then I leave them out because, you know, it's sort of, especially with the Memento, it's become a given. But then there are months when I dive into things in particular that really warrant even more of their use. And towards the end of September, which I already knew was in the making, 𝗕𝗿𝗄𝗱 has an Ancestor challenge that's still ongoing. That is run on her Patreon, and that's something that I knew that I would be diving into. I was really excited for that, especially because it started in September and that was meant to be like a restful month for me. It felt like a really good time of the year transitionally. So these two stepped forward strongly for the ancestral work. I did think I was going to use my wooden tarot, but the Antique Anatomy ended up calling to me to be paired with, or I'm sometimes for the daily card pulls, I'm switching them out for each other. It depends. So without giving away too much of 𝗕𝗿𝗄𝗱's content, some of the questions are more about asking them a question. It would make more sense for them to answer in tarot. And then some of the questions are more about things like building ritual for them and around them. And then the Memento Mori is really good for identifying tools, approaches, just more of that symbolic language that I really enjoy from this one. I have also, in that period of time, taken the Memento to where my granddad's buried, at that cemetery. I've been visiting a few local cemeteries, but that one, and whilst I have been embracing other new ancestors, in particular, I have still been really feeling called to touch base with my granddad. He's been kind of noisy. If you work with ancestors and spirits of all variations, then you'll kind of get it, and if you don't, then you won't. But yeah, it's kind of been a thing. So a lot went on as well. You know, it's been a very death heavy year for me, unfortunately. Not just literal deaths as well, but a lot of transitions and grief work. And these decks help me stay with that grief without sort of rushing into it or flooding myself and overwhelming myself. So that's kind of where they stand out for me. Okay, I fibbed a little bit, but I will throw in a bonus deck and my funky little owl friend, because this is the thing predominantly that I bought for myself at Greece, along with this little bracelet. Mainly I bought a couple of things for other people. Actually, I did bring myself home some local honey, some local tea, and some local olives. So predominantly that's what I brought back. But in terms of like more trinkets or dust collectors, as my sister calls them, which, if you didn't see already, I have actually cleansed and cleaned out my witch room and my altar, so it's feeling good. Not too many dust collectors, very conscious selections, which is nice, although I am not a minimalist. But anyway, back on track. This is one of the decks that I did get for my birthday, but it kind of segues from Greece and also into like some of the book stuff, because one of the things that I had been getting into a lot is poetry, and this deck combines poetry and oracle. Let's show you the owl first. I love all kinds of animals, but there are a select few that I am really drawn to, and I'll be honest, owl isn't one of them. This really struck me, this little item. I am sure that it's not necessarily something you would only find in Greece. I honestly don't know if it's going to show you, but inside it there is another tiny little owl whittled. It's really hard to see, but for me, firstly, I just thought it was really clever and beautiful, and I like to support one of the shops while I'm out there. It was something about how this had been carved down here, and the animal inside was really giving me layers of like spirit house. So for anything from familiar to maybe even like fae spirits, some people create houses for them, all kinds of things. It felt like something poignant. It's really hard to put into words, but it just felt meaningful. It felt like it would be a good thing to have around my spirit houses. There was also some other ritual ideas that I had with it, and weaving through this, if I can manage to get it through one side and out the other, I just kind of fell in love with it. So yeah, this is my little owl friend. So I've been really called back to poetry throughout both months, actually. Poetry is just so enjoyable for so many reasons for me. I like it for bibliomancy, I like it for any kind of work, affirmational, grieving, inner child, sparks of inspiration, to sync up with tarot readings, just all the things. This is actually a really heavy deck, so maybe I'll just move this out of the way and pull a couple of cards out. And so what this deck does is combines many of my favourite things: poetry, very natural history type artwork, a very antiquated look, except from the weird choice of white borders. And this deck works for loads of things. You will have already seen it anyway if you watched my full deck edit, so it was a part of that. I actually really like the idea of pulling them just one a day or one every couple of days as an altar card. And when I pull these, I do like to make a point of reading them out loud to myself as well, just kind of really ritualizing the moment. But yeah, they're absolutely beautiful. So this one says, "To be an exception in the shapeless mass of the common, begin by finding a hole in the default and attend to it with great assiduity. As it becomes larger and larger, its width the size of time, its edges overgrown with light." By the way, I don't know if I said that word correctly, but nevertheless, how funny, I stopped on the owl and I didn't even notice. Anywho, this is a really lovely deck. If you didn't catch Oh, there's another owl. Lots of owl stuff going on apparently. If you didn't catch the name, it's called 100 Divinations for Uncertain Days. It is wildly unmanageable for my hands because there's 100 cards and it's kind of cardboardy, but really good for altars, like sturdy. Feels like it will stand the test of time as long as I don't bend one in half or drop it on its corner. I wouldn't say avid birder. I'm still quite the beginner. But I have my little mini binoculars, I have like a zillion bird field guides and other bird things. I have a couple of bird decks now, this one and the Birds Oracle 1 and 2. You know, I kind of dig birds, so I thought I would show this as well because it is one of the few decks that also has been definitely used during those months. Sticking with the theme of books, as I say, I have been diving into poetry, just relishing it, in particular, definitely in September. And I just thought I would get a book out that perhaps I either haven't shown or haven't shown a lot, because there's a lot of Mary Oliver going on as well. There are some others I talk about a lot, but I decided to pull this one out to show yous, which is Another Way to Split Water, because I freaking love this one as well. And a friend of mine in the community actually recommended this book and I didn't get it for way later. I think actually I found it difficult to find, but when I did, I was absolutely elated with it, and I'm not sure if I've thanked them, so I do need to try and remember to do that. But the language that she uses and the flow of it is just one that I enjoy in particular. Like, look at this line. Is haunted by extra spaces in your lineation, your every impulse to add another gap. Hopefully you can see a few of the pages, maybe pause and have a nosy. But honestly, I freaking love this. It does turn out that I am somewhat fussy about my poetry. I like a lot of nature embedded into a lot of the poetry I have, or the other thing is I love reading the cultural expressions and influences from people all over the world, and also hearing their stories and things that really let people express their emotions as well, in a way where hopefully it's cathartic for them. So yeah, very nature-based, very emotionally infused. And the other one that I've been dipping in and out of predominantly is this one, the Psychic Art of Tarot. If you don't remember, Llewellyn had sent me a box of review materials that I had expressed an interest in, and I've reviewed and shared and discussed everything else. I guess I've said the least about this because I'm still working with it. I am really curious about their first book, or at least what I think to be their first book, which is Psychic Witch. But I was really curious about the tarot one because, of course, tarot is a big part of my practice. There is a lot of language in it in particular that's perhaps just not for me, and I recognise why that is. There are flavours that remind me of things that were challenging from when I was younger, but in terms of like content, I've been having some fun trying out, yes, I have got my bookmarks in there, trying out things in particular. So I don't want to give away too much of what's in here, but I thought I would just give you 3 of the things that I have really enjoyed thus far, because it's hard to review a book in its entirety not having read the whole thing yet. So this was really interesting, the Triple Soul Insight Spread. I enjoyed this, I will do it again, and in essence kind of a twist-ish on mind, body, spirit. It's a really lovely way to check in with the 3 facets as the author describes them. So I really enjoyed doing that. It felt workable for me. It's the way that I like to read, in the way that it was broken up. And the questions, they're 3 different questions, and then they just repeat for every section. And that's a really workable spread for me. I like that. This was a really fun invitation and is one I am still practicing. And when I say practicing, any automatic writing of any description is challenging for me, but I can't work out if it's just the way sometimes that people describe automatic writing. And actually in this book, it's described in quite a down to earth, easy to access way, in my opinion. and you do this with a tarot card, and it's very sense-based and creative. It's got a lot of those, I guess, creative and visual layers that I already enjoy incorporating into the way that I read tarot. Is something that Dawn and I discuss in Tarot Beyond Tradition, you know, so it was really lovely to see it come up again in here, and you know, with a different flavour, and then bringing the automatic writing part. And as I say, how it was broken down felt quite accessible. And then I found this interesting as well, because this is talking about, well, it says it's talking about the 𝗕𝗿𝗄𝗍. It frames 5 of them in a very elemental approach, which is really interesting. Now, funny thing is, the 2 that I would identify, 2 of 3, that I would identify the most with aren't in here. I don't know whether that's because of how the author feels, or more because they're talking about senses and elements and attuning them, and these attune in that capacity, if that makes sense. So the one that I really enjoyed reading about, clairalliance, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it again, but basically it's like your olfactory, so your sense of smell. And I do pick up smells that aren't there. Quite often it's a cologne or a cigar, so I know who it is, but it does happen to me. But I found that discussion really interesting in here, even though, as I say, the sort of like the knowing and the emotional or empathic layers are not necessarily discussed in that section anyway. But I am still working with this book, and I just thought I would talk to you a bit about how that's going for me. So definitely there are bits in there that aren't for me, but it doesn't really matter with a book like this. And I do feel like it's always going to be a bit more of a challenge when I've got so many things in place already, because some of it's just that I already do these things, and perhaps with a little bit of a different language. But the ones that I have shared with you today, really lovely welcome additions to my practice, having a lot of fun with them. And I definitely think for someone who is perhaps a little fresher as well, there would be even more to dive into. There are lots of sort of like meditational pieces. If you can deal with listening to your own voice and you have not the best memory like me, the best thing to do is to literally just record like a voice note on your phone of you reading the meditation, so that you can then listen back to it and take yourself through it with your eyes closed and sort of more present, rooted in the moment. If you've got another way to like sort of put some ambient music or noise on in the background, take a little sting out of having to listen to your voice. So that's just an additional tip. So I'm sticking with books and merging into other stuff. So I did want to add, I think I already mentioned The Women Who Run With The Wolves, but if I hadn't, it's made its way back into my hands and my practice in a big way. But I think I'm going to talk about that more over the coming months. Also with the poetry, it's really been encouraging me to write again, and different forms of writing than perhaps the content-based ones that I do, that you maybe see a lot of if you're on my Patreon or my Instagram or even my newsletter or Substack. I'm really enjoying jumping back into that. And the funny part is, in terms of the writing, is it performs terribly on social media, but I feel more aligned when I'm writing some of these really expressive personal things, as opposed to just sharing resources or really short, digestible, teachable content. I don't mind doing some things like that, but without the other stuff, it feels really lacking. Some of the thing that I've really noticed is that I've been really craving discussion way more than likes or visibility. Not that that's not a part of what I think about, because that would be a huge fucking lie. But I have been craving that, and it reminded me of why I started sharing at all. And I've been sending more voice notes to friends, less scrolling. I mean, I wasn't much of a scroller, in honesty. I actually find it quite overwhelming, too much of it at once. But even so, I have noticed the shift of that need for like more grounded expressions and connections, and the writing has really been a lovely way to return to that, allowing myself those sort of lapse in language and it not being as impressive or poetic, but a real sort of raw expression of where I'm at, and that's been lovely. And a lot of it hasn't been shared because it's just for me, and that's really nice to show up for myself in that way. And then moving on to the last book and into like the rest of the stuff I want to talk about. It's been very ancestral, very spirit based. I've had some, I think talismans is probably the best term for them, but whatever you want to call them. There's been not a massive shift with my deity work, but more a focal point. And yeah, just focused on things like that, as well as some magical objects and thrifting. I mean, I love thrifting, so I usually look a lot and don't find very much, but I guess that's good for the pocket. But they're the kind of things that I wanted to talk about. And of course, I can't talk about any of that without saying how freaking amazing this book is. This is such a useful book. And sometimes I forget to come and access it, and that's just because I've got a terrible memory and I have honestly far too much access to 𝗕𝗿𝗄𝗀. That's the problem. With the challenge, I have been reminded of how this book can then aid a lot more of my ancestral stuff as I return to it, because I did a big portion of it, I want to say like end of 2023 and into a portion of 2024. Yeah, I don't want to give away too much of inside, but I cannot speak highly of it enough. I have reviewed it. I didn't buy it from there, but you can go and review on Amazon even if you didn't buy from there. And because it's so heavily used, it's one of the few good places to review stuff. So I think the review might be on there. But what I would say is I went to my granddad's grave, as I said, and I was pulling cards there. I got the grave dirt one, which I literally never pull, even though it's always in there. I have only pulled it twice, and it was in either both in September or September and October. I had nothing on me, nothing to prepare. So like the little gremlin that I am, I just used what I was born with, and gathered this little bit, which does actually have some chips in there as well, and made this, and it's now on my ancestral altar. And this has a lovely discussion of collecting grave dirt, and it also has a lot of important notes about ethics and respect, why you're doing it, and it also has a discussion of how to make something as an offering if you want something like this and either don't feel comfortable or can't get graveyard dirt from that particular person. So lots and lots to be had in here, and it did actually come in use because I needed to air it out before I put it in there as well. And because there's been a lot happening privately that's stirred up some sort of internal dysregulation, I have been looking at a lot more grounded and somatic rituals, and then wanting to bring that into any of the workings that I do with spirits, ancestors, deity, through that as well as a sort of an anchor point, a connection point, an offering, and a like a grounding. So, I mean, anchor kind of says that already. I have different talismans or things that I've identified that have been useful. So I thought I would share some in the ancestor stuff, just if you wanted a nosy. My favourite for my granddad, this is his old tin, and I have some of his old coins. So I usually pull his old coins out. These are 3p, which, not gonna lie, didn't know about their existence until I got these. I mean, I knew there was other money, but I guess I hadn't thought about it much. So that's some of the stuff that I have in place of him. Then for my uncle, because he was absolutely obsessed with these, he bought them for everyone he knew and loved. So I have a couple of these on my altar space for him. I don't actually have anything of my aunt's, who I found out about earlier in the year, but what I will share is I did a massive ritual, which the Patreons know some of. I had this gorgeous pomegranate candle from Candles of the Moon. I used that and infused it with a load of other stuff, which the way that it burnt actually ended up like this. So you can see the leftover herbs as well. So I kept it for future workings with my aunt as an offering because I didn't have anything else. I've got this gorgeous little dish that I got earlier in the year at a local craft fair, and I just get a little bit of this out if my head's like too heady and headachy basically to burn it. And I have it out and with this little piece of incense, and the smell infuses the space, and it's already been a part of that intentional ritual. And I pulled her a weaver's card and spoke and sang and cried, and it was a whole thing. So there's a lot infused in this. But also what I will do with them is I have like a really beautiful large oil wax burner that I use for ritual stuff in particular, and when I am feeling up to it, these get reburned in that. And once they're reburned, because obviously it doesn't just entirely disappear, it's not the right type of wax for that, then they are discarded, because at that point I feel like they've had their 2 uses and they feel sort of done with. But as you can see, I've got lots and lots to get through. So I kind of have that. I didn't make this, I bought this from someone. This is a wax melt. It's really earthy, it smells amazing. But it has been a part of the ancestral altar space that I had created, where I've been putting just some fresh water and stuff. This is the jasper. I believe it's another ocean jasper that I have been holding on to. This travelled with me to Greece. I often do a protection ritual with one stone or crystal and take it with me. And this was the chosen one. So it's kind of been in and around and involved in a lot. I just feel like, as someone who enjoys fidgets and is very tactile, that it makes sense to me as well that like the weight of a crystal or something like that in hand is going to feel really sort of comforting as well. And then in terms of the deity stuff, I'm still on like a low simmer with the Morrigan. And I'm still using the 𝗕𝗿𝗄𝗀 deck to engage with her. But I really felt like a call to have some more focused dedication on Freyja, whichever you prefer. In particular, there have been a lot of birds of prey around. Lots. She has been sending me signs, because it's not something I commonly see, and it's only been happening at these really particular moments. But I have had some of the best sightings that I've ever had in my whole entire life. It's always when I'm driving, which is really frustrating because I never get to stop and sort of like, I guess, sink into it. But one of them honestly flew down. They were hunting something in particular. They had spied something sort of really close to the roof, where the roof of my car would be, but like in front of me. So I slowed down because of course I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to accidentally hit anything. And it just gently glided across and went off on its hunt into the other field. And it was just surreal. And these are at points when I've asked for signs as well. It's not a fleeting thing. I don't think every animal is a sign. I really don't like to reduce them to just something for my benefit or my spirituality or anything like that. So I've been doing a lot more offerings and devotions, short but meaningful. Odin is still in the background, and I have something at the end to show you that I bought for Odin and my rededication to the runes, which is beautiful. I did a small ritual for him with the item. In fact, I've got enough room here. So this was one of my birthday presents. I did choose it, and it is beautiful. This is an Odin bind rune, and then you've got the 𝗕𝗿𝗄𝗀 runes across the outside. It's also engraved on the bottom. Oh, there's herbs coming out of it. I did a massive ritual as a rededication to the runes and also for Odin, and I had my runes in here with lots of stuff. I actually did a YouTube short and reel of snippets of it if you want nosy, but this gorgeous bowl is now also really good for offerings. I say in the background, it's not meant as a disrespectful thing. We have how we work and connect set up, and same for hell, although circling back currently, but back to Freyja. I got her this piece of amber, something to have in her space. There are many reasons that I associate this with her. And then it came in this. I think these are common. They're like, honestly, it feels like cellophane or some plasticky wrapping. I guess so people can display their crystals and rocks in them. It's really not my thing, but it opened. And the reason that I thought it was so freaking fantastic is this is the head shed off of one of our leopard geckos, who unfortunately none of whom are with us anymore. They have all since passed. This was Bowie, and he didn't eat this for whatever reason, and it's just the most stunning, wonderful, hilarious little mask that there ever was. And me and my partner wanted to keep it, and I said to him, I'm really worried about it kind of like disintegrating over time. I mean, it probably will eventually. What a fun way to preserve this. Basically, I have an ancestral meets spirit meets familiar altar. And so there's sections, and that's where 𝗕𝗿𝗲𝗀𝗱𝗀𝗀 and her offerings hang out as well. So this is up there. I think maybe we will share the thrift things at a different point because this is getting long. I have been doing a lot more walking lately and really brainstorming ways to keep this going in the colder months because I need it. My Patreon's actually paused in October. It was so that I could rest and recalibrate in September, which was the biggest joke ever because it did not happen. They are diving back into all of the old content of the last 5 years. They are not being charged for the pause. So that's a bonus for them. What it did was it gave me a month off of creating Patreon content, and I felt like that rejuvenated and allowed some creative inspiration to begin to develop again. So I will be back in November over there with a lot more offerings, tarot, witchcraft, animal gnosis, therapeutic insights, and, you know, tools, techniques, things that are accessible for everyone, all the good stuff behind the scenes, you name it. With that in mind, if anyone wonders where the YouTube membership went, I ended it. All it was a little taster of what Patreon was like. Most people joined Patreon because you get more bang for your buck over there, because all of the writing and stuff is over there as well, and the podcasts and all of the things. It was duplication of work. It was really stressful. I'm just a Patreon, which in terms of my subscription offering currently still, so that's where I'm at if you are at all interested. So we're going to finish off with some random joys and wrap this up, and we'll talk thrifting and some more stuff perhaps another time. I love things that are personalised or self-created or, you know, that kind of layer as gifts. And as I say, it was my birthday. My nan, she had found this troll doll at the market, and she just wanted to grab it for me. Now what it's wearing is not what it came with, but I'm going to start showing you so you don't get bored. This is 𝗕𝗿𝗃𝗀𝗃, helped named by both of my parents because this is the family I'm in. Good fun. For some reason I was like, wouldn't it be great if she looked like witchy or alternative or whatever, because she did have a different piece of clothing on that was meaningful to us as a family, but it was probably not going to last very well. I said, oh, I might try and find her something, although I don't know if that exists. And she said, if you don't mind giving her back to me, I will make her something. Look, she's got a little green pants on. Found materials, found this charm, found this chain off of, I don't know, something else, and then embroidered these two little skulls and made her just the most adorable little dress. So I have my witchy 𝗕𝗿𝗃𝗀𝗃 here. She also came back with this little basket that she'd made which says spells, if you can't see that, with a little leaf, and then you've just got what was meant to be like little spell jar trinkets inside, and obviously she can't hold it, but it just sits like this together. It's so adorable. So last but not least, now I've found the angle for it not giving so much glare, there was this really funky artist. This is a print of their snails because obviously the main pieces are more money, but honestly to see them is to behold something special, because they've got all these like beads and gems, a bit like this looks on the actual piece. And I do want to buy one of their like originals at one point. And they're also hoping to make like a collage and textile visual book about all of the various little creatures, from snails to spiders to beetles. It's glorious, like it's totally my vibe. I actually, and it's just when my dad does not watch this, I actually bought my dad a sticker, a spider sticker, as a little Christmas present, because she had the exact same species of tarantula that he used to have when I was little. So I was like, yes, I need. And she upcycles the frames to make them more funky and fun. I fell in love with this. I love snails. For those who don't know, I have owned giant African land snails in the past. It is legal over here to own them. I believe it's illegal in the US. This sits on my... You may have seen it if you watched my recent altar video, but this sits there. And then I have these snails. My partner got me this one, and my stepmom got me 2 of these actually. So I have one with this in front because they look different, and then I actually have a different piece of snail artwork in a different room with the other one of these in front of it. Other than that, shout out to Hello Kitty Adventure Island on the Switch. That's basically been the game that's been getting me through stuff in terms of what's accessible that I can play, that I still enjoy. I've been having a lot of hand stuff, so it's hard, but I have been able to get to the game sometimes, and that's been great. So that's where I've been, trying to root, stretch, grieve, listen, adapt, still show up for stuff, show up for my therapy clients, my tarot clients, my Patreons, my family, my loved one, my community, my health, because it's taken the biggest bashing in forever. That's the bits that I can remember. Let me know how your practice has been, or shifting, whatever it is that you want to share with me. I genuinely love reading your updates, and as I say, I have been really craving discussion, connection, whether it's been creative, chaotic, quiet, it's all valid. Thank you for hanging out with me, especially because this has been a long one, and I'll be back soon with either the new deck haul video or perhaps the Patreon release. One will come after the other anyway. I hope that you're all keeping as well as is humanly possible, and I will speak to you all again soon. Bye. Gotta keep the Tamagotchi fed and happy before jumping on. Priorities and all that.